door was the kind that sticks before it gives. I had to put my shoulders into it, and when it finally swung open, the smell hit first. Not rot, not old fabric or mildew like most units. Something warmer, something I couldn't name right away. I set my flashlight on a shelf and scanned the room. No furniture, no boxes, no garbage bags of clothes. Just a wire rack against the back wall, and on it, 14 mason jars. Each one sealed, each one fogged from the inside. I picked up the nearest one without thinking. That was my first mistake, and I didn't know it yet. It was warm, not ambient warm. The glass radiated heat like I'd pulled it fresh from a dishwasher. And there was no power in the unit. No outlet, no heat lamp, no extension cord running under the door. The concrete was cold under my knees when I crouched down to check, and the air was November cold on my face, and those jars were warm in a way that had nothing to do with where they were. I should have left, I know that. But there were 14 jars, and one rack slot was already empty, and I've never in my life walked away from a container I haven't opened. That is not a virtue. I've known this about myself for a long time. I took the first unsealed jar and pried the lid back. The smell was mine, exactly mine. The specific animal smell of my own skin after a long day. The smell of my own sheets, my own color. Something I've never been able to describe to anyone because it's one of those things you only know in private. Coming from inside a sealed jar, in a storage unit, at 3 a.m. I held the flashlight over it. There was something folded against the inside of the glass. A small fold of pale skin, slightly translucent. And pressed against it, an eyelid, half formed, the lashes still filling in, and beneath it just the edge of an iris. The color was mine. That particular shade I've never successfully named, the one that reads different in different lighting. And then it blinked. Not randomly, in rhythm with my breathing. When I exhaled, it opened. When I inhaled, it closed. I tested it 3 times before I admitted what I was seeing. I put the jar down and went to the back of the rack and found the one with the label. Masking tape, dried brown ink. A date I recognized the way you recognize a scar you've had since childhood. The date of my appendix surgery. I was 9 years old. The scar is 3 inches long, low on my right side. There's no record of it in any document I've ever posted anywhere, and my mother's dead, and the surgeon retired, and I haven't thought about those 2 nurses since the day they wheeled me out. I drove home and told myself it was a coincidence. I did that for about 4 days. The first morning, I found something pale in my bathroom drain, roughly the size of a thumbnail. Warm to the touch in a way that made me pull my hand back. The smell again, my skin, my body, coming from my own drain. I threw it away. It was there the next morning, and the one after that. I went back to the unit and smashed 3 jars on the concrete floor. I watched the sludge spill, thick, threaded with fine dark hair, exactly the color of mine, laced with thin white lines I eventually identified as scar mapping. Then I sat in my car for 20 minutes. When I went back in, the broken glass was still there. The sludge wasn't where it had fallen. It had moved 3 inches toward the door. I bought a UV light. I don't know why that felt like the rational response, but it did. I started with the unit, then my car door handle, my kitchen counter, my bathroom tap. Everywhere the light hit, the same thing. My fingerprints doubled. 2 sets of ridges overlapping, the second set not identical, diverging, developing its own pattern, pulling away from mine in ways that were small but measurable. Whatever was growing in those jars was finishing itself on every surface I'd touched since the night I opened them. The storage facility's office was unlocked. The manager hadn't been around in days. His lunch was still on the desk, the chair pushed back like he'd stood up fast. On the shelf behind the desk was a handwritten ledger. I found the unit listing, rented monthly, in cash, for 11 years. The depositor description in the margin, height, weight, eye color, hair, was mine. Written in ink that had yellowed with age, describing who I am right now, not who I was 11 years ago. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom after I found the condensation in my car trunk. A hand-shaped film on the interior metal, still warm when I pressed my palm to it. My dimensions exactly, with an extra crease on the ring finger that I don't have. The mirror was the thing I tried hardest to explain away. I noticed it first as lag, the reflection blinking a half second behind me. I told myself it was stress, bad lighting. I tracked it for 3 days. It wasn't lag, it was delay. Controlled, deliberate, consistent. Whatever was looking back at me was watching through my eyes, processing what I saw and choosing when to blink. It had seen my kitchen, my bedroom, the inside of my front door. I had been carrying it through my own home like it was welcome. There were 2 more labeled jars I found near the end. One had the date of a car accident. I have a scar on my left shoulder from that, a detail that never appeared in any report because I didn't report it. The second one took me 3 days to place. The date my mother died, not her birthday, the day she died, a date I've never written anywhere in my life. I found out later that the other winning bidder from that auction, someone who'd bought a unit 2 doors down, had taken everything to a reseller the next morning. No examination, no opening. I called every name on the manifest until I found someone who'd answer. I went back one last time to destroy what was left. The unit was empty, except for 1 jar on the floor, centered, sealed in red wax, placed too carefully to be accidental. I stood there for a long time before I crossed the room and picked it up. Inside was my hand. My right hand, fully formed, warm, fingers loosely curled. My exact knuckles, my exact nails, my ring finger with its old compression callus. Warm enough that I could feel it through the glass. And in the fingers, loosely held, my house keys. On the metal, a smear of dried blood from a paper cut I had gotten 3 days ago. I remembered it only when I saw the blood. I had completely forgotten the cut existed. It had healed so cleanly I hadn't noticed it stop hurting. Behind me, footsteps crossed the gravel. Not running, walking, and hurried, like someone who had finished something and was heading home. And then, from somewhere that shouldn't have been that direction, I heard my front door. The specific sound of my deadbolt cycling open. 3 catches before it releases. I know those 3 catches. I was there when the locksmith set them. 1, 2, 3, then nothing. I was alone. I turned around. On the inside of the unit door, a small mirror I had never noticed, bolted at eye height, too clean, too deliberately placed, showed my reflection looking back at me. It blinked. Right when I did, exactly when I did. The delay was gone. I'm still in the house. I check my hands in photographs now instead of directly. I can't fully explain why, it's just easier. Every morning I stand outside the bathroom for a minute before I go in. I still have the jar. It's in a bag in my trunk. The trunk is warm. I keep meaning to get rid of it. I don't.